What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going on? Let us have some fun. All right. So in today's beginner class, what I want to do is essentially have kind of like an open Q&A. I feel like we've been doing a lot of charting. We've been going pretty fast, supporting resistance, moving supporting resistance. It's what I call speed lines, open candles, open close, candle wicks. We've been talking about all this stuff, but do you really understand it? Right? That's the question. And so today, what I want to do is, first of all, let me open up the chat so y'all can wish me a rich rising. All right, rich rising family. What's going on? What's going on? So yeah, essentially, like I said, I want to kind of open up the floor for questions. So if anybody has any questions, anybody has any concerns, we can kind of address it here and then move forward so I can continue to teach. All right. Still a beginner class, but want to have some fun with it. All right. Let's see. This is Zero DT in the building. What's good, family? What's good? Red, Eon, what's good? What's good? Eon, you already know, man. You know what we doing over here, man. Noah, what's good? What's good? What's good? I see y'all coming in. There's Jacqueline, Lawrence, what's good? What's good? All right. So yeah, that's pretty much what we got going on with it. I definitely want to make sure everybody here, beginner or not, everybody here, if you got questions, of course, I want to answer them. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get to, because I know I can move pretty fast. All right. Eon, for real. Yeah, people be acting real advanced, like they don't have questions, like they already understand this stuff. And of course, when people don't ask me questions, then I'm gonna start asking questions like, okay, well, shit, send me your P&L. If you don't have any questions, that means you get it. And if you get it, that means you're winning. And if you're winning, that means you're making money. All right. So don't y'all be shy, damn it. If y'all got questions, I'm sorry. This is supposed to be for the kiddos, right? So open class, the beginners class, is for the kiddos. So I do not cuss here, right? STB, I'm cussing. All right, I'm cussing. Let me get back to the course. Where should I start? Start from the most recent video and then work your way back. That's what we'll do. All right. So for my new folks, so of course STB, y'all gonna get you're gonna get your questions and everything answered, later. But if you have beginner questions here, I think that'll be helpful for y'all to ask them for maybe so maybe the beginners who are here, they'll have like a little like starting point. Like, oh, that's a great question. All right. So how do we review your core lessons? They're all on YouTube. Anything we do here, I put it on YouTube in the beginners. I have like a beginners course on YouTube, right? And so that's just me kind of, showing love. I want to help people to get started. Um, let's see. Red, that's a good question. When do you restart or redraw your running support? Um, a lot of times I don't, right? And we can go over that. We can go over that in a minute. But a lot of times I don't because it always, I can't say always, but majority of the time it will always come back to show support or resistance. Like no matter where it is, it always is a thing. So if I'm using a running or what we would call a speed line, right? Which I'll go over here in a minute. Rohanda, what's good, Rohanda? I appreciate you, family. We'll talk about that a little later in STB. I'll kind of show a little love and show what's going on, what we got in the background. All right. Let's see. So I'm just gonna open up a new chart and we're gonna draw on it. And I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about, Red, because you would think you need to clean up your charts, which you do, but it depends on how you're trading. That's what I will say. Depends on how you're trading. And I'm gonna go over here in a minute. Let's see. Let's do the SPX. We'll do the daily chart, and then I'll share my screen from there. All right. Okay. So now we got our share. Let me make sure I haven't missed any questions or anything. Say good morning. What about create my LLC for my trading company? Mel, real quick, before I go over this chart, anybody who's looking to create an LLC, you have to be a full-time trader first. I'm not gonna lie, I hate when people try to create LLCs for trading and they still work a job. The IRS, from my understanding, I could be wrong, something could have changed. From my understanding, the IRS is going to look at what you do mostly. If you work a 40-hour job and then you got a side trading business, they're not going to consider you they're not going to consider you a full-time trader or a business like in trading. That's what I've been told, right? Number one. Number two, for a lot of people, it's not worth it. It's not worth it unless you move in millions of dollars and you are a full-time trader. So I would, seek a little guidance on that. Is ICT clean chart theory something you agree with? How do you teach reading charts? Honestly, I don't like when people mass, like, you can't say this works for everybody, right? And so I try to never do that, right? I try to never do that. Some people can trade perfectly fine with a dirty looking chart, right? It can be messy and you see all of this shit around and it's like, what are you doing? Like, if you look at some of my charts, you're like, what the hell is that? And it's like, only I understand it. Right? And so for me, I can't tell you what works for your brain, right? And so when people, and it's not just ICT, I hear a bunch of people like, oh, you don't know how to trade because your chart look like this. It's like, that's not a thing. Like, there's no one way to trade. Some people's brain is wired certain ways, right? I can't tell you how to run your race, right? So you see a lot of people who, it's like, for example, I play basketball, right? I've seen a guy with this ugly little shot. It's like he'll get the ball and shoot the ball like that. Who am I to say he can't play basketball because he shoot like this? If that motherfucker go in, excuse me, if the ball goes in, right, and he makes his shot, I don't care how you shoot. If it's going in, it's going. Yeah, Sean Marion had an ugly, horrible shot. It was one of those, like, right. I don't care what your form looks like. If your shot goes in the rim, then I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. And so that's the issue with a lot of people in this whole trading world. They feel like because you have one way, or they have one way of doing something, that if everybody else doesn't look like theirs, then everybody else is wrong. You can't do any. Let me think about this. I don't like to generalize, but majority of the things in life you can't generalize. So you can't say if it doesn't look like this, then everything else is wrong. I mean, you can't do that in relationships. You can't do that. I mean, it's just about the results. That's right. So if it works for ICT, great, right? If it works for, now I can trade with a clean chart just because I can just look at the candles conversations and tell you where it's going, but I still like to have some things on my chart as a guide. So, well, anyway, back to the question at hand, right? It does if you're trying to control people. Oh, that's a bar, mom. That's a bar. That is a bar. All right. Let's see. I think I missed a few other questions. Good morning. How much to join STB and stay locked in with STB? I'm not gonna lie to y'all. My beginners, y'all probably not ready to come to STB yet, just because of the price. Right? STB is not cheap because I don't want people to have what I have. To be honest with y'all, or I don't want a lot of people to have what I have. A lot of the stuff that I'm using to win this competition, I put it in SCB. I teach it there. And I know as I get higher and higher in this competition, as it goes along, y'all just wait. Give me like 3 months. I'll probably hit like 400% in this competition. And when that happens, I know the floodgates are about to open because people gonna be like, what you know? Like, how you doing 400% in 4 months? And so for me personally, I'm like, hold on now. Like I'll teach you some of this beginner stuff, but like some of the stuff that I got, I don't want the whole world to happen. So to come into SCB right now is 20K. Like it's a lifetime fee. So you come in, you good. And I've been doing this for, almost 4 years, almost actually going on 5. So yeah, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. And it's because I'm good at what I do and I don't want everybody to know what I know. So just know that, you're gonna be all right if you come into STB, all right. Where's the spot going? We'll go over that in a minute. Let's see. That's straight up. Let's get it. That's right. So here's the thing. What I'm gonna do is go over, like, I'm gonna back test what Rhett just asked me, right? Because Rhett was like, hey, if you have a speed line, when do you like go in and recalibrate, redraw it, whatever. And so for me, it depends, one, on your goal, your game plan, two, on what you're trying to get out of that one speed line. So your game plan, meaning, are you a day trader, swing trader, long-term investor, right? Number one. Number two, what are you using that line for? Are you using it to say, hey, what's going on in this current time, like with the speed line? Or are you saying what's going on with this overall resistance and support area, right? And so that's what we need to be. Those are the two questions I would say we need to have. So, for example, if we're tracking this, right? Remember, all you need is 3 or more candles to touch. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd even consider that's a front run, but 5, 6, got underneath 7. So this is a good candle or a good line, right? This was a speed line. This was a speed line, and it told us that once it broke, we were good to go, right? We were good to go for a fall. Now, I'm kind of going back here because a lot of my STB folks remember this, right? Y'all remember this because I was tracking this one, and there's one back here, right, that I'm going to make yellow. My STB folks remember that in January 20, let me see, what was that, January 2022? Yeah. So January 3rd, 2022, I called puts on the market, right? And it was the top of the market. It was literally the top. So we got here, right? It's right from bed. I was actually sick. I had COVID at the time. And so I saw this trend line break, but it ran back up because I'm looking at this bigger trend line here. So once again, when do you get rid of this trend line? See, this is my longer term trend line. Never. I mean, I can say never, but like I'm gonna keep this yellow one on for a while because it's been support for a long time. This is, look, back in 2020. And so it kept being support. So for me, I'm not getting rid of that one. So for Red, the question that you asked, which is a great question, when do you like recalibrate your lines or go back in and like change them? Never. If this line was support and resistance for multiple years, then I know that this could be a multi-year for a while. Like it could be years of support and resistance. So I don't touch it, right? So this was the January 3rd top that we called. Why did I call it a top? Because this support right here was broken as well. So you broke your speed. This is more what we call a speed line. Speed lines track a trend, like an immediate trend. So right now, this immediate trend was more of like a multi-week trend versus a multi-year trend. So this would be more of a speed line versus a support and resistance, just normal support and resistance line. So anyway, when I saw this one break and then the big dog broke, I'm like, okay, it's game time. I want to see you come back up and hold support, right? It actually blew through my support and then it came back up here and consolidated. And so I called it on January 3rd, which was here. So it was Monday, January 3rd. I'll never forget it. I said, we're going to do 8-month SPY puts. And y'all know what happened next, right? So, so red, this one right here, I don't think it'll be tested ever again. So I'm like, I mean, not ever again, but like right now, I'm like, no, it's too crazy. I'll get rid of that one. This one, I do think can get tested probably in the next like 5 or 6 years. So you could keep that up if you wanted to. That's only if you want to. Now, what I will say is the bigger the time frame, Devin, you can go ahead and ask your question too. The bigger the time frame, the more likely it is you can keep the trend line up, right? Now, I would only use this for like my beginners, right? The reason why I say that is because as you get better, at seeing, like your eyes get better at seeing things, you can trade a clean chart and just kind of go, okay. So for example, if I see this down move, down, 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 I'm like, man, this, and this somewhere in here gotta be support or resistance. And I'm like, okay, is this now holding support? Like I don't even need to see the line. I could just kind of tell. I'm like, I could just look at this and go, So it's like here, and maybe like somewhere in here. That looks like resistance. And either here or here looks like it's breaking above and holding support now. So yeah, I don't even need the line, but if I want to confirm it, I'm like, well, let me check it out. Like, boom. Oh, there it is. Support. Okay, so yeah, it's a great place to buy. Resistance, 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 resistance. That's support. Cool. And then we take off from there. Right. And so for me, this is another reason why I mentioned that about ICT. See, ICT has been trading for what, 30 years? Right? Dude's been trading for 30 years. So for him to talk crap about beginners or about somebody who's just starting to say, if you can't trade with a clean chart, you don't know what you're doing, right? I think that's, I don't know, man. I think it's insensitive. I'll be honest. So yeah, I would personally say, it will take time, right? It will take time, but don't be afraid to use your lines and don't feel pressured to meet somebody else's standards. If it works for your brain, then you use it, right? Use it. Let's see. When a gap is created up or down, sometimes it's breaking before support or resistance. It's retracing but broken off from the trend. So what do I really consider a full move? I have no idea what that means, Devin. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if you typed it out wrong, but I have no idea what you asking. Like, I can say this. It sounds like you like, is the gap like a real gap or not? I don't care how the gap is created. If it's a gap, it's the market sees it and it's gonna aim for it, right? So I have no idea what you're talking about. Let's see. Eon is hilarious. I'm not gonna repeat it because we got, like I said, it's supposed to be for the kiddos. Everyone has to start somewhere. It's like training. Yeah. You gotta have the training wheels, right? Do candle confirmations also apply to monthly and weekly time frames? Of course. I would go out on a limb and say everything that works on a minute, 5 minute, 1 minute, or excuse me, 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, whatever works on one time frame chart, that thing works on all time frames. So if you're looking at confirmation candles on 1 minute time frames, if you get confirmation on the trend break on the monthly, that it works, right? If you get a gap on a weekly chart versus a gap on an hour chart, same thing applies. All right. So yeah, I would go out on a limb personally and say, yeah, it does not matter what time frame it's on, it applies. Right now, the time frame it was made on will give it a different time frame as far as how long it may take to play out, or how long it may take to confirm, or how long it may take for the gap to close, how long it may take for whatever, right? So if you got a trend on a monthly time frame, that trend line may hold for years, right? If you got a trend line on a minute chart, that trend line may hold for minutes. You see what I'm doing? So it's up to you to go back and back test the time on each time frame that you want to use, right? Let's see. Let's see, gaps breaking off before retrace, creating new gaps. So I don't know if it count as one move. Oh, okay. That now I get it. Now I get it. Got you, got you, got you. Let me see if I can find one. Like this. This is what you're talking about. So gap, gap, and gave you two gaps, and you're like, I don't know. Like, is that one move? Is that what you're talking about, Devin? So you got a gap here, gap here. Yes. Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about. Yes. Both of those gaps apply. Both of those gaps apply. You know, what I'm gonna do is we'll maybe do a gap because we're about to run out of time. We probably got about 6 minutes before I need to start an SCB class. But I can teach y'all like a simple something with gaps, right? Gaps, they're gonna be aimed to close, and this is nothing new. Y'all can go now. I can say this is definitely on YouTube. You go on YouTube, and they'll always talk about gaps. I even think about ICT. He always talks about fair value gaps, right? I don't really use them. I don't need them. But what we do know is that gaps are going to be closed and retraced, closed and retraced, close, retrace, close, retrace, close, retrace, close, retrace. So to answer your question, Devin, yes, these gaps are definitely being closed and retraced, right? Now the big issue with that is, and this is where people get lost in the sauce. The big issue with that is, guess what? That's a gap, and this is a gap. You got multiple types of gaps. So this gap was closed, retraced, closed, retraced, closed, retraced to the T, right? Closed, and then I'm almost sure we're gonna come back and retrace it, right? And so that retrace will bring us back to about that 38.30. I actually think that's gonna happen within the next year. So yeah, it's 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 something like if you are a gap trader, a lot of people like gap trading because it's easy to follow. I don't gap trade because I have multiple other methods. I can be a gap trader because I know how to trade gaps, but I'm not a gap trader. I trade multiple different things, right? But gaps, that's right. Everybody sees the gaps, right? And so and I like what Eon just said. That's not always a great thing. That's a fact. Everybody sees these gaps. Now, one of the things you can do is these gaps also can be support and resistance. Okay, so while we've been on the topic of support and resistance, what does it mean to retrace? So basically, if you close it, a retrace means to come back, right? I got to retrace your steps. Remember that? Retrace your steps. So if I'm retracing my steps, that means I'm going back to where I started the gap. So if I close the gap, I'm going to go back to the origination point of that gap. So close the gap, retrace the gap, close the gap, retrace the gap, close the gap. It takes a little minute because it'll boop, 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 retrace the gap, right? Close the gap right in here. Took a little minute. And like I said, I do think eventually we'll be back down here to retrace that gap. Right. So um so yeah, hopefully this is good for a lot of my beginners. Shit, I think a lot of my STB folks just learned something because a lot of y'all still haven't studied far enough to get to this point. We use trend lines for swing trading. I use trend lines for everything. Everything. I showed y'all not too long ago. I showed y'all not too long ago on the weekly chart that if you just use trend lines, just use a weekly chart, right? And I kind of did it in an overkill way. If you just use simple trend lines, boom. Look, this is a swing trade. You could have got here. And then what we need to do, and once again, this is just for your eyes, or this is just for the people who have seen the charts enough. So I can do this just because I've seen these charts enough, right? To be honest with you. But check me out. You see this congregation of candles here? That's an area, right? And so what you can do is you can just find your areas. Look at this. This is an area because you have this, these, right? You go back here. This is clearly is an area. You got these, right? And this area can be moved. It can be moved to the bottom of these candle wicks, right? And look, they're still followed. So don't get too crazy with it. When do I take it to here or to down here? Get it to where the majority of those candles are or even candle wicks are being hit, right? And look, resistance, support, resistance, support. And so literally what you could be doing is I've shown people how to do this. I still don't think most people have I don't think most people have learned the patience to be able to trade like this, but I show people how to literally just like chill. You could just chill and come here. Resistance, support. Look at that support. And literally, if you give yourself enough time, you can trade in between these lines. Literally. I tell people all the time, like, man, if you know, based on all of this, if you know that these are support and resistances, you literally can buy and sell these support and resistances. So, buy, sell, right? Sell, buy. Like literally these things bounce in between. Now, of course, I'm gonna be honest with you, especially with a move like this, of course, you need more than just support and resistance. I gotta be honest with you, right? It's not just support and resistance, but what I will say is how often do you see this? Not often. This is from memory, this is 14 out of 15 up weeks. You don't see that in the market. That rarely happens. 14, 14 up weeks out of 15. You rarely see that. Like if we just go back and look through history, you really don't see it, right? And so how do you handle smaller time frames, 1 minute to 30 seconds? Well, no, it always the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Now the issue is you need to be aware of what's going on up here before you go down to the 1 minute. It's called a top-down analysis. So you want to go trade the 30-second chart, you need to know what's I always talk about the rocket ship. Is the rocket ship going up? Cool. If we're going up, then you need to know that that's the bias. The bias is up, right? So imagine trying to take a rocket ship down, like the rocket ship blasting off, and you trying to push it down. You're gonna get your head knocked off. It's the same thing with the charts. So you need to know that the rocket ship is up. So as long as we've been riding this line right here, I've been bullish, right? Now, of course, I know something a little different, so I'm also bearish. But in the short term, let me say that in the short term, I'm bullish because I'm like, no, the rocket ship is up. Now I'm gonna throw some things longer so you can give me my my move down. But you just need to know that that's kind of how that works, all right? But yeah, that's right, Natasha. That's the most important analogy to keep in mind. Where is the rocket ship going? Because what you will often find is people will find themselves betting against the rocket ship. And it's like, if you know what you're doing, it's fine. But some people don't know what they're doing and they betting against the rocket ship. Right. I did a back test from years in 1800s, and we should come down by now. Oh yeah, Eon. I can. So somebody asked me, where is the market going? Right? Where is the SPY? I think is what y'all asked. Right? Somebody said, where's the SPY going? Where's the SPY going, Tay? Where's the SPY? I'll go to the SPY since that's where y'all's focus. It's the same chart, but I'll go to the spot. Hey, where's the spot go? Where's the spot go? Where's the spot go? Right. Well, I like this line right here. Right. Where's the spot going? Personally, this is just off the dome, right? Personally, I think we're gonna try to come back and test this line. Where's that line? This line puts us at 432, right? Now, that's just a very simple analysis. That line hits 432 by April 8th. Okay. If we hit it earlier, let's say March, early March, something like that, 427, right? 427. Now, that's just me using the trend line, right? I mean, I'm just using a trend line. So if I'm just looking at this, maybe, and this, my trend lines are followed. Look at that. 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 You see this being followed. Support, 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 resistance, support, resistance, resistance, support, resistance, support, 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 resistance, resistance, support. And see, once again, this is why I say, like, the people who are saying, like, oh, you need a clean chart theory and all of this stuff. I'm like, no, I now have like a house. I have a house or frame of what the market is bouncing in between. I can guarantee you this is giving me another one. If I go back and find another trend line, I don't know. Let me see. Let's just back out a little bit. I'd say this bad boy right here against these candles. Somewhere in here, support, support, resistance, 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 resistance. I'm going to change the color of this one to green. All right, so you can see the difference. But look at the support, resistance, 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 support, support, resistance, resistance, support, 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 resistance. Look at this. Now watch this. Can we be heading to that? Can we be headed to that? Could be. Could be. But now what I know is, okay, now there is something that is it makes sense. There's something that I can look for and say, hey, is that crazy that it's still moving upward? Like, am I crazy that it's going to 520? Am I crazy? And it's like, no, you're not crazy. It can get up there. And so I can find other things that can get me up there as well, right? So, especially, watch this, especially if this bad boy continues to get followed. So every time it come down and it bounce, bounce, bounce. If it's bouncing off this line still, guess what? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? So once again, that's how this works. Okay. And so yes, I can go back and find lines that will where support and resistance, because there's another one here, right? And it just gives me a more likelihood. That's it. Just give me more likelihood. So here's another one. Bing, bing, bing. I'll turn this one to a white line, right? Just so you can see the difference, right? And so it just gives me a likelihood. It lets me know where you want to go, right? It's just more confluence. That's it. Yeah. And so when people say once again that this stuff doesn't work and your charts are too messy, right? It's BS if you ask me. Right? It's BS. So anyway, that's what I will say. Hey, it's funny, but like, yeah, it is what it is, man. And so for me, what I'd like to see is I need first things first. I need this line to break. This is the first one. If this line does not break and it keep bouncing off of it, we're going to 520. We're going to 520. Easy, easy. STB, y'all know why, right? Y'all know why. So once we hit 520, then maybe we can, then maybe we can pull back. But yes, that's what I see there. All right. But once we break this line, if we can hold resistance either here or here, then what I'd like to see maybe within the next month is us come back down before April to about 431. That's what I'd like to see. Maybe even break it and come test this area and maybe even this area down at the 380. Right. It's possibility. It fits my narrative. Let me just say that it fits my narrative. And let's just say this is the top, or let's just say it wants to even go a little bit further. I would expect a 50% pullback. And so, it fits my narrative. So 423, right? Could even go back as far as your golden. And if it's the formation that I think it is, it can go as far as 85%. So 360 is still on the boards, right? And so, yeah, that is what it is. All right. So people keep saying Nvidia is going to $1,000, but I was looking. No. Well, people do that because it's like it's a football game, right? I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna leave. All right. I'm gonna open up this STB class. You bet with the person that's winning, right? And so if an undefeated team goes to the Super Bowl, who most people gonna root for? The undefeated team. So it's called not unconscious bias. It's called recency bias, right? It's called recency bias. And so what that basically means is I'm seeing something now. And so that means whatever is happening now. So if this person is winning now, they're gonna win tomorrow too. And so the next psychological resistance, or big psychological resistance, is 1,000. So everybody's like, yeah, nobody's stopping Nvidia. It's going to $1,000. And I'll see y'all at 350. I'll see you at 400 and 350. Then we'll go from there. But do I think we're gonna hit 1,000 before we hit 400? Nope. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So once again, that's another thing people do. It's called recency bias. And so what you'll see is people loading up on calls, loading up on shares at $720, right, for Nvidia. And they're gonna have to take a 50% pullback. All right. So yeah, man, it's hilarious to see what happens, right? What's good, Russell? We get ready to head over to STB, Russell. It's all good, man. Let's go on over there. So once again, love y'all. I will upload this to YouTube. Y'all make sure y'all study it. Hopefully I got some of your questions answered in a way that makes sense and you can take it and apply it and go in and back test and restudy. All right. Other than that, I'll look forward to seeing my free people. I'll see y'all in maybe Thursdays. I think, I should be good Thursday. So Thursdays live trading class, all right, or trading session. Other than that, STB, let's head to the real class. All right, let's get it.